We're diving deep into a crucial concept. If you don't change this, your reality will never change. Now let's break that down. We often find ourselves stuck in the same patterns, the same routines, the same problems. We feel like we're on a treadmill, moving but not getting anywhere. Why is that? It's because our thoughts, behaviors, and emotions are deeply ingrained in us. They're like programs running in the background, dictating our reality. Think about it. We wake up in the morning and immediately start thinking about our problems. Those problems are connected to memories, and those memories are associated with certain emotions. So right from the start, we're living in the past. And when we live in the past, we can't create a new future. Now, according to neuroscience, our brain is a record of the past. But here's the exciting part. It can also be a map to the future. How do we make that shift? It all begins with changing our thoughts and emotions. Imagine your brain as a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds you plant. If you keep planting the same seeds, you're going to get the same plants. But if you start planting new seeds, you'll grow a new garden. In the same way, if you start thinking new thoughts, you'll create a new reality. But it's not just about thinking positive thoughts, it's about feeling those thoughts. Thoughts are the electrical charge in the quantum field. Feelings are the magnetic charge. Together they create a new electromagnetic signature, a new state of being. There's a fascinating study from the 1940s by a Yale University researcher who was studying the electromagnetic fields around living organisms. He found that the positive charge was always at the head and the negative charge at the tail, creating a magnetic field in the shape of the organism. When he studied women with uterine cancer, he found similar patterns in their electromagnetic fields before the cancer even developed in the body. This showed that it's the field that creates matter, not the other way around. So if we can change the field, we can change matter. And we change the field with our thoughts and feelings. Here's a powerful example. In an experiment, healers were asked to use their intention to change DNA. When they focused solely on intention, nothing happened. When they focused solely on feeling gratitude and love, nothing happened. But when they combined intention with elevated emotions, over 20% of the DNA changed. This shows us that how we think and feel broadcasts a field. But it's not just any field that creates change. It has to be coherent. Coherence means synchronization. When we're stressed, our brain moves into high beta brainwaves, and we're in survival mode. We're trying to control and predict everything, which scatters our energy. But when we create brain and heart coherence, we generate a powerful, organized signal. When we experience elevated emotions like joy, gratitude, and love, our heart starts to beat in a more coherent rhythm. This creates a measurable magnetic field that can extend several meters beyond our body. This energy is a frequency, and it can carry information. So when we feel gratitude, it can carry the thought of our health or our abundance. But if we're feeling negative emotions like fear, anger, or frustration, those emotions can't carry thoughts of health or abundance. They carry a different set of thoughts. This is why it's so important to align our thoughts and feelings. When we do, we're broadcasting a coherent signal to the field, and the field responds in kind. So if you don't change your thoughts and emotions, your reality will never change. But if you do change them, you can create a new reality. This is why it's so important to practice creating brain and heart coherence. We can do this through meditation, visualization, and by practicing gratitude and other elevated emotions. When we're in a state of coherence, we're no longer living in the familiar past or the predictable future. We're living in the present moment, and in the present moment, we have access to infinite possibilities. We're no longer defined by our past experiences, our environment, or our genetic predispositions. We're pure consciousness, connected to the consciousness of the field. In this state, we're no longer a mother, a father, a lawyer, or a teacher. We're not defined by our culture, our skin color, or our roles. We're pure consciousness, capable of creating a new reality. But this isn't just about thinking positively or feeling good. It's about understanding the science behind how our thoughts and emotions create our reality. It's about practicing and applying this knowledge until it becomes a part of who we are. The latest research in neuroplasticity and epigenetics tells us that we're not hardwired to be a certain way for the rest of our lives. We're marvels of adaptability and change. We can rewire our brains and recondition our bodies to create a new future. So how do we do this? It starts with intention. When we ask ourselves, who do I want to be when I open my eyes? And what would it be like to live a new life? We're activating our frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is the CEO of the brain. It's responsible for decision-making, planning, and creating a vision for the future. As we contemplate these questions, the frontal lobe begins to call up different networks of neurons that are relevant to the answers we're seeking. It's piecing together a new understanding based on our knowledge and experiences. This is called intention. When we mentally rehearse this new vision of ourselves, we are doing something incredibly powerful. We are installing the neurological hardware in our brain to make it look like our desired future has already happened. Think of it like setting up the structure in our brain that will support our new way of thinking and being. This process is like creating a detailed map to the future we want. It's as if we're charting a course and preparing ourselves to reach that destination. As we keep practicing this mental rehearsal, something amazing happens. The neurological hardware we've set up in our brain starts to become more established. It turns into a software program that runs automatically. Just like how a computer needs software to perform tasks, our brain uses this new program to guide our thoughts and actions. We begin to think in ways that align with the person we want to become. Our thoughts naturally shift towards this new vision of ourselves, and we start to feel more confident and empowered. But it doesn't stop there. Our thoughts influence our actions. So, as we continue to rehearse and strengthen this new vision in our mind, we start acting like the person we want to become. Our behavior changes to match the new image we've created in our brain. This means we begin to make different choices, take new actions, and adopt habits that align with our desired future. Imagine you want to become more confident and successful. By mentally rehearsing this vision, you start to think like a confident and successful person. You might find yourself standing taller, speaking more clearly, and taking on challenges with a positive attitude. Your brain is now wired to support this new version of you, and it influences how you behave in your daily life. The more we practice this, the more natural it becomes. It's like learning to ride a bike. At first, it takes a lot of effort and concentration, but with practice, it becomes second nature. In the same way, rehearsing our new vision repeatedly makes it easier and more automatic. Our brain becomes used to this new way of thinking and acting, and it starts to happen without us even having to think about it. This process of mental rehearsal is a powerful tool for personal transformation. It allows us to break free from old patterns and habits that no longer serve us. Instead of being stuck in the same routines and behaviors, we can create a new reality for ourselves. We can become the person we've always wanted to be by first creating that person in our mind and then living out that vision in our daily life. It's important to be consistent with this practice. The more regularly we rehearse our new vision, the stronger the neurological connections in our brain become. These connections are like pathways that guide our thoughts and actions. By reinforcing these pathways, we make it easier to stay on track and continue moving towards our desired future. But it's not enough to just think and act differently. We have to feel differently. We have to feel the emotions of our future before it happens. This is how we condition our body to a new mind. The body doesn't know the difference between the experience that creates the emotion and the emotion that we're creating by thought alone. So when we feel the emotions of our future, our body believes it's happening now. The stronger the emotion we feel, the more we pay attention to the thoughts we're creating. This is how we change our biology from living in the past-present reality to living in the future-present reality. We're no longer held back by our old patterns and programs. We're creating a new self. This process requires us to get beyond our environment, our body, and our concept of time. We have to become nobody, no one, nothing, nowhere, and no time. When we do this, we become pure consciousness, connected to the consciousness of the field. And in this state, we can create anything. I was so fascinated by this process that I decided to go back to school to study neuroscience. I wanted to dive deeper and understand how we can change our brain and body to create a new reality. This curiosity led me on an incredible journey of discovery and learning. Through my research, I found out that when people practice this process, they experience profound changes in their lives. It's not just small changes. These are significant, life-altering transformations. One of the most interesting things I discovered is that people didn't wait for their health to improve or for their wealth to increase before they started to feel gratitude, love, or empowerment. They didn't wait for external changes to happen first. Instead, they began to feel those positive emotions ahead of the actual experience. They imagined their desired future with such clarity and emotion that their body, which acts as the unconscious mind, couldn't tell the difference between the real event and the imagined one. The body believed they were already living in that future moment, even though it hadn't happened yet. This process is incredibly powerful because it shows how our thoughts and feelings can influence our physical reality. When these individuals felt gratitude, love, and empowerment as if their dreams had already come true, their biology started to change. Their brain and body began to align with their vision of the future. This alignment is crucial because it sets the stage for creating a new reality. By feeling these elevated emotions before the actual experience, they were essentially reprogramming their brain and body to a new state of being. The brain, which usually acts as a record of the past, starts to function as a map to the future. The more they practiced this, the more their brain and body became accustomed to this new state, making it easier to sustain those positive feelings and behaviors over time. This is how they changed their biology and created a new reality. Through consistent practice, these individuals were able to break free from the limitations of their past. They stopped being defined by their past experiences and began to live from a place of possibility and potential. This shift in mindset is crucial because it allows them to create a new future that is not bound by the limitations of their past. The process involves a few key steps. First, they had to become clear about what they wanted to achieve. This clarity of intention is important because it gives the brain a specific target to aim for. Next, they had to feel the emotions of their desired future as if it had already happened. This means generating feelings of gratitude, love, and empowerment ahead of the actual experience. By doing this, they were signaling to their body that this new reality was already happening, which in turn began to change their biology. The final step was to practice this regularly. Consistency is key when it comes to reprogramming the brain and body. The more they practiced feeling these positive emotions and visualizing their desired future, the stronger the neural connections in their brain became. Over time, these new neural pathways became the default mode of thinking and feeling, making it easier to maintain this new state of being. So if you don't change your thoughts and emotions, your reality will never change. But if you do, you can create a new future. It starts with understanding the science behind this process and then practicing it until it becomes a part of who you are. We're not defined by our past. We're not hardwired to be a certain way for the rest of our lives. We're marvels of adaptability and change. By changing our thoughts and emotions, we can change our reality. And when we live in a state of coherence, we're no longer living in the familiar past or the predictable future. And something out there to change how they feel and hear. But if they don't understand that they're creating reality all the time and they're living in lack, in unworthiness, in separation for their whole entire life, waiting for the event to happen to take away their lack or emptiness, well, they'll spend their whole entire life wishing, wanting, waiting, hoping. And so then that creates further separation from things changing. So then the idea then is to turn that battleship around. Is it possible then that the way you think and the way you feel can begin to produce effects in your outer world? Now that isn't something that you swallow in one bite. It's a process of gaining knowledge. It's a process of practice. It's a process of experience. But once you start seeing those synchronicities, those coincidences, those opportunities that start to fall into place because you're experiencing change in your outer world, if you're doing the work, you're going to start paying attention to what you're doing inside of you that's producing. Now it begins to come to you. You become the vortex or the magnet to your destiny. You are not going anywhere to get anything. You are actually collapsing space and time, and you are drawing the experience to you. You are the vortex, because when there's a vibrational match between your energy and that potential that exists in the quantum field by tuning a radio dial, when you lock into that frequency, if you keep revisiting that energetic signature over again every single day, then you don't have to go anywhere and get it. The new job finds you. The new house actually finds you. The new relationship finds you, because you are the vortex that's drawing the experience to you. The universe only gives us what we think we're worthy of receiving. So we got to come initiated into this and understand it. If you want to create a new life, a new personal reality, you got to change your personality, which means you better start thinking about what you've been thinking about and changing it. You begin to become conscious of your unconscious actions or habits or behaviors and modify them. And then we have to begin to look at the emotions that we live by every single day that keep us connected to the past and decide, do these emotions belong in our future? So most people are trying to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it doesn't work. You literally have to become someone else. And can you select a new possibility in the quantum field and begin to emotionally embrace that future every single day to such a degree that your body, as the unconscious mind, the objective mind, does not know the difference between the experience in your life that's creating the emotion and the emotion that you're fabricating by thought alone, to the degree that you begin to signal new genes and new ways to change your body to look like the experience has already happened. Now, the latest research in epigenetics says it's absolutely possible. This every day, installing the circuitry every day, conditioning the body into the emotion of the future, that your body begins to change to look like it's already happened. Now, this is where it gets fun, because now you no longer have to go anywhere to get it. If you think that your thoughts have something to do with your future, just from a theoretical standpoint, that your thoughts create your destiny, and you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day, and 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as the day before, well, then your life isn't going to change very much, as long as you're thinking the same way. If you're not being defined by a vision of the future, then you're left with the memories of the past. Is it possible then that the way you think and the way you feel can begin to produce effects in your outer world? Now, that isn't something that you swallow in one bite. It's a process of gaining knowledge. It's a process of practice. It's a process of experience. But once you start seeing those synchronicities, those coincidences, those opportunities that start to fall into place because you're experiencing change in your outer world, if you're doing the work, you're going to start paying attention to what you're doing inside of you that's producing the effect outside of you. And once you correlate the changes of what you're doing inside of you with the effect you produce outside of you, you're going to pay attention to what you did, and you're going to do it again. And all of a sudden, you're going to start believing more that you're the creator of your life and less of the victim of your life. And those same thoughts lead to the same choices. The same choices lead to the same behaviors. The same behaviors create the exact same experiences, and we anticipate the same feelings or emotions from those experiences, and those emotions are the payoff that drive our very same thoughts. Well, our biology, our neurocircuitry, our neurochemistry, our hormones, and even our gene expression will be equal to how we think, how we act, and how we feel. And how we think, how we act, and how we feel is called our personality. And our personality creates our personal reality. That's it. I want people to begin to understand that thoughts are very powerful, feelings drive our thoughts, and that they can begin to create a better life for themselves once they understand some of these principles. We live in a world where often when people think about visioning the future, they vision stuff. So you have a vision of the car you want, or you have a vision of an amount of money you want, or you have a vision of a home you want, and you see this with people with their vision boards. What's your take on that? And is that the right type of visioning? And what is the right type of visioning? Well, we do so many different variations because I think people integrate information differently. And all of those cars and homes and whatever that is, they are symbols of what it looks like when a person actually arrives at this concept called abundance, right? So if those things help them to associate with something that creates a feeling of abundance, and they're building their vision board to help them to get clear on their intent, then that's fine. Because they're associating objects or things or material things that they'll say, that's when I know that I'm abundant. That's fine. Other people will say, look, abundance just means that I have more than I need, and I'm happy with that. And for them, there's a feeling that is associated with that. And when they begin to dream about their future, they may see themselves in a scene or see themselves a certain way. I don't care what it takes for the person to get there, because once they have their abundance, and this happens quite a bit in our work, when you finally have everything you want, there's only one thing you're going to ask yourself: how am I going to contribute to the world? How am I going to make a difference? So we use different tools to help people to get to that point. But if the person's doing the vision board and they're saying, when I get my new car, I get my new house, I get my new relationship, then I'm going to feel so great. Well, then they're back to the program, waiting for it to happen, for them to feel the emotion. They're believing their outer world has to change in order for them to feel better. There's no effect of drawing the experience to you that way. So the person has to use those tools to get them into the emotional state for them to feel like it's already happened. Now think about this. If you get up from a creative process and you feel grateful, you feel a love for life, you feel a joy for existence, you feel a passion for the moment, you will not be looking for your future because you'll feel like it's already happened. It's the moment that we start feeling those self-limiting emotions that we feel separation, and then we start looking for it again. Well then, if you're waiting, you're not creating, you're in separation again. So then whatever it takes for you to move into a state of being, and what is a state of being? Thoughts are the vocabulary of the brain. Feelings are the vocabulary of your body. How you think and how you feel creates your state of being. So then, if you wake up in the morning and you come back to your senses with a clean slate and you say, I don't feel anything, and you say, well, let me start thinking about all the problems in my life. Well, all those problems are connected to different people or different objects or things at different times and places. The moment you remember your problems, a memory is a record of the past. You're thinking in the past. Every one of those problems has an emotion associated with them. So all of a sudden you start feeling unhappy, you start feeling bitter, you start feeling frustrated. So now your body's in the past. So then most people then create a state of being that's connected to their past. And if they're in the familiar past, then they are going to crave the predictable future, and they're going to fall back into routine. So then we want people then to get very clear on that vision of their future, however they do it, and begin to combine that clear intention with an elevated emotion. So then, if you wanted to create a new personal reality, a new life, then you would have to start thinking about what you've been thinking about and change it. You would have to become aware of your unconscious thoughts and observe them. You would have to pay attention to your automatic habits and behaviors and modify them. And you would have to look at the emotions you live by every single day that are connected to your past and decide if those emotions belong in your future. You see, most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it doesn't work. You literally have to become someone else. And you are here this week to learn vital information about creating a future and be defined by a vision of the future instead of the memories of the past. Because if you are not defined by some vision that is bigger than you and you are not passionate about that vision, then you are left with the old hardware of the past in your brain and you will be predictable in your life. So would you agree then? New thoughts, new information should lead to new choices. New choices should lead to new behaviors, and new behaviors should create new experiences, and new experiences should produce new emotions, and those new emotions should drive new thoughts, and that's called evolution. So if your brain is a record of the past and you don't have a vision of the future, then you are living in the past, and you will never arrive at that new future. Now there's another potential for you to exist free from the chains of the old self. That potential exists right now, and I want you to teach your body emotionally what it would feel like so that it begins to believe it's in the actual experience of freedom. Let your body feel freedom so that it thinks it's in the experience. And I want you to sit in your body emotionally to feel the joy of how you would feel. So the body begins to be in a future potential now, emotionally, and there's a potential for you to have all your needs met and be wealthy. And I want you to instruct your body to experience wealth and the joy of riches ahead of the actual events, so your body thinks it's in the experience. If you feel it, your body thinks it's in the experience. It doesn't know the difference. Now there's a potential in the field for a genius mind, quicksilver thoughts, insights that take you to new horizons. And the electricity that's created from an open mind, teach your body emotionally the joy and the inspiration of what that would feel like, so the body begins to experience your genius and think that it's in the event now. And there's a possibility existing simultaneously in the quantum field of the vitality of a new life, rich with opportunity and awe for adventure, and a sense of unbelievability where you feel like you're in a dream. There's a potential in the quantum field that all your prayers are answered, that possibility finds you, that its prayers are being answered. You have to demonstrate a will that's greater than any program. You have to find a level of intensity or a level of passion that's greater than the body as the mind or any addiction to any emotion. You have to be inspiration, the movement of energy. Don't be afraid of it. Just surrender into it. For some people, their body will do unusual things. That's information trying to be integrated into it. Don't be afraid of it. Just surrender into it. If your body does weird things, more than likely that's energy moving to your brain. If you have a lapse of consciousness or you all of a sudden find yourself on the ground, that's energy moving into your brain. It's happened to me numerous times. It's a sign that you're getting close or at least doing it correctly. Now, where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So you want that energy to move right to the top of your head. Inspiration, the movement of energy. You have to find a level of intensity or a level of passion that's greater than the body as the mind or any addiction to any emotion. Don't be afraid of it. Just surrender into it. On a Sunday morning while she was in the shower, her husband said goodbye to his 2 children, yelled something to her while she was in the shower, and then went to the tallest building in Amsterdam and jumped off the building and committed suicide. Now that is a stressful event. And when she got the news, she experienced all the emotions that people experience from something that's shocking and traumatic like that. She was suffering. She was in pain. She was resentful. She was guilty. She was confused. She was angry. She went through the whole gamut of emotions. And all of those emotions, by the way, are derived from the hormones of stress. So she has an event in her life. It changes her biologically. She doesn't know how to control her emotional reaction. It turns into a mood, one long emotional reaction. If you keep reviewing that event in your mind, you begin to produce the same chemistry in your brain and body as if the event was occurring. So her body is being conditioned to the past because she's reliving the experience 50 to 100 times in a day, and her body is beginning to believe it's in the same past experience over and over again. It ultimately goes from a mood to a temperament, and now people are asking her in her life, "Why are you so upset?" She tells the story, and she's basically saying, "I am this way because of this event that happened to me 4 months ago." So then if we keep that going for extended periods of time and those emotions are driving our thoughts and we can't think greater than how we feel, our feelings have become the means of thinking. We're thinking in the past and now we're stuck in our biology. So one day she wakes up and she's completely paralyzed from her waist down and she can't get out of bed, so they rush her to the hospital. They do MRIs, they do all the tests. They can't find anything significant with her, so they just diagnose her with neuritis. And so now she's bedridden, and she cannot literally get out of bed. So now she can't work, she can't take care of her children. Her mother has to move in with her, and she doesn't have any money because she's not working, and her stress levels go up. So now the condition gets worse. As her stress levels go up, it's the same chemicals of stress that are knocking the brain and body out of balance, signaling the wrong genes in the wrong way. And another few months later, she develops these huge ulcerations in all the mucous membranes of her body, in her mouth, her throat, her upper stomach, her bladder, her vagina, her anus. She's got these huge ulcers. Now she can't eat, and if she can't eat, she's knocking her body now out of chemical balance even more, and it hurts. So now she's spiraling downward, and then she finally starts noticing her symptoms getting worse. And she goes to the doctor, and they diagnose her with esophageal cancer. Now, the moment she gets the diagnosis of esophageal cancer, now she gets even more stressed, and she's in fear now, and she realizes that her children may not have a mom. And so she came to one of our workshops, and I remember specifically because she came in with crutches and a wheelchair and a walker, and she sat on the left side of the room. And it was an introductory level course, and she understood that she could change it intellectually, but she had a very big challenge ahead of her, and she realized how much she was in her past. She had a vision of her future. Like, she wasn't visualizing anything, she just got a very clear vision.